Welcome my friends, this is Alliteration Gaming here with another video on the Transformers TCG. This time we're going to be doing a deck profile of Insecticons. So if you're like me, the second you found out the Insecticons were in this game, you asked yourself a few questions. You know, are they a cohesive deck? Are they good? Or are they made to synergize together? Yada yada yada. And if you saw the answer to all of those questions was yes, then you were like, well, time to buy some cards. I love this deck for many reasons. It is so fun, it is so enjoyable, it is so thematic in the way that it plays and the way that it operates. I'm so glad it is in the game, and I want to get right to it. But before we do, I want to give another quick shout out to Top Deck TCG for all your website, gaming hub, trading card games, singles, etc., news outlets, videos, content creator links. It does all that kind of cool stuff. Really cool website, and I know at the moment of recording this video, they do have all the Insecticon cards stocked. Probably have all the battle cards you need for it too, so if you want to start picking up the stuff for this deck, you can head there right now. I know Skrapnel is getting a little hard to find at the moment, so you can definitely go pick them up there. But we're just going to get right into the deck profile now, going into our hard-to-find boy here, Skrapnel. So Skrapnel is, I'm going to call him Shrapnel for the rest of this video, because that's his real name. Don't fight me on this. For his stat-wise, he has 5 attack, which is pretty solid. Like, very solid. 7 health, which is bad, but it's fine. And 0 defense, which is bad, but it's fine. Because his bot mode effect is, he cannot take more than 3 attack damage from a single attack. Yeah, he has a built-in Forcefield for 3 damage, which is insane. This is insane for, like, many reasons. For one, if you're going first, you just flip him for your first turn, get your 5 attack in, probably like 6 to 8, maybe even 2, because this is an all-orange deck for the most part. Get that big chunk of damage in, then your opponent goes and they can't even do anything. They can do 3 damage to him. That's it. That's all they get to do. And then you're just like, cool, now I'll swing with my huge guys here, and it's just, it's actually kind of like oppressive. Like, it's so awkward for so many decks, especially like decks that want to swing with big guys first. Like, it bodies them. Like, Skrapnel's effect is like a complete one of a kind right now in the game. Like, we don't have a lot of really good defensive abilities in the game right now, so it's especially valued for that reason. And Skrapnel is kind of what makes it easy to take like the control of the game state in this deck. So like, if you haven't noticed, this is a 4-wide deck. Together they do make 25 stars. Barrage and Skrapnel are 7, Kickback is 5, Ransack is 6. They make 25. It was intended for you to do that. So naturally, you have already have an attack advantage over any other non-4-wide deck, which is really good. And then Skrapnel just kind of makes it easier to take further control of that game state by perpetuating how your opponent can deal you damage and making it so that they can only kill your bots, like essentially in the way that you want them to fall, which is really strong because the deck's general motif is just really heavy hitters that can get one-shotted afterwards. So you're kind of just making good trades, but you have cards that actually play into it. So it's a lot better for you than it is your opponent, and also because you have 4 guys, you're obviously much harder to kill, even though you're separated on a lower health pool. You have 4 guys, so it's an innate advantage that Skrapnel just kind of capitalizes on in bot mode. He does that in alt mode as well. So when you flip to alt mode, he loses 1 attack, gets 3 defense, and when you flip to this mode, you may KO one of your Insecticons. If you do, tap an enemy that has 13 stars or fewer. This is really strong. In the instance that like they have like a 3-bot team and they have 2 guys tapped, and then you have like, you know, these guys left, or you know, however many amount of these guys, you can just go ahead and flip Skrapnel. He can KO one of the others. He can even KO himself for the effect. Tap their last guy, and then you essentially get to all-out attack them, which is really nice. Against decks that like really rely on 1-bot swings, like Dinobots with Grimlock, Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend, because he's usually the star in any deck he's in, Nemesis Prime too. You can just be like, oh, they have like, you know, something else untapped, and then that card that you want to tap down, like Grimlock or Optimus or whatever, you can just flip Skrapnel, tap that down, and say, now you don't get your Grimlock attack for another few turns, or you don't get your Optimus attack, or, you know, your Cosmos attack, your Megatron Living Weapon attack, your Nemesis Prime attack. Any of these really big guys that are generally the focus of a deck they're in, you can control them to a sense. So, like, this deck just does a lot. Like, it's a hyper aggro deck, but given it this really one-of-a-kind defensive skill and also an element of control in it as well, it's a lot, and it's really strong. Definitely Skrapnel is the glue that holds the deck together, as he is the leader. Next, we're going to go on to the main heavy hitter. Well, kind of. Barrage and Kickback both hit for the same most part, but Kickback starts the show. So Kickback in bot mode has no attack, 9 health and 1 defense. These are fine. He can get one shot. That's fine. That's the motif of this deck. They will die. They're bugs. The 0 attack though makes sense when you read the effect. So when he is attacking, you flip 2 more battle cards for each other Insecticon that you begin the game with. So 2 for the attack and then 2, 4, 6. So 8 default flips. On average, he can hit for about like 6 to 8. On a good day though, he'll start hitting like 11 to 13, and it's just, this card can get crazy. There's ways to give him even more bold, even more like base power and stuff. It's really, really strong. He's like I said, he's what starts the show. He does not skip a leg day. Kickback gets in there. His alt mode is pretty much irrelevant. He gets 3 attack, which is, you know, whatever. When he damages an enemy, you can repair 1 damage from an Insecticon. That's basically irrelevant. These guys have all very low health pools. Repairing them is never really means anything by any means whatsoever, no matter the situation or the context. It's never really going to be good. You're also never going to you're never going to get the point where you can transform him, attack, gets to the point where everything untaps and he lives somehow, then transform him and would attack with him again. Like it's in this mode, it's never gonna happen. Like if Kickback's swinging, he's swinging in bot mode, unless you do, like I said, like something like the all-out attack kind of plan where you tap them down and you can only flip like one of them here because you used to flip on Skrapnel. That's the only time, and again, it'll still be kind of irrelevant. You play him for the bot mode. Barrage is pretty much in the same boat. He is 5 base attack. Again, very, very strong, just like Skrapnel. 11 health and 1 defense. So he actually has a little more bulk to him than the others. He's definitely the one that doesn't get one shot the most often, which is tight because he's one of the strongest. When he's attacking a damaged enemy, Barrage gets bold too. So this is really, really nice. Usually, like, the attack pattern in this deck plays into this really well because you'll attack something with Skrapnel for a nice chunk of damage, and then they won't attack with that because they don't want it to die. Then you'll attack something with Kickback. If you have good cards for him, Kickback will possibly one-shot whatever they swing with first. And then if they swing with the guy that you attacked first, who's already damaged, Barrage finishes him off, and then you're way ahead of the game if things play for you, play into your favor at that point. So he's really, really nice. We also have a few other ways to turn this on in the deck. It's always good. With Bold 2, this deck is almost all orange. He'll be hitting like 10 to 11, no problem whatsoever. Very, very, very nice card. Barrage and Kickback are the hitters of the deck. They are the ones who secure the kills. His alt mode, like his bro Kickback there, is also pretty much irrelevant. When you flip into this mode, a character gets pierced 2. Never really doing anything for the most part. Like the characters all hit pretty tough. Pierce 2 isn't really ever going to come up. It's just kind of there. And again, you're never going to get the chance really to transform him back into that mode. It's just it's a moot point. And lastly, we have the arguably weakest link in Ransack. So Ransack has an undefined attack, 8 health, and 3 defense. So, you know, a nice middle ground between these two, but still, you know, if the opponent wants to kill him, they can absolutely kill him. But as far as the attack goes, his effect states that his attack is equal to the number of damage on him. So how does that exactly, you know, function in the deck? Well, obviously, if your opponent hits him for 7 and then he lives, that's tight. You know, kudos to you, man. But realistically speaking, that does not happen. Your opponent will not attack Ransack unless they know they can kill him. So it makes his effect kind of bad. But we do have cards that can circumvent that. But we're going to get to later in the deck when we talk about the upgrades. But for the most part, if you draw the cards that go really well with him, he can be very strong in bot mode. If you don't, you usually just have to go into alt mode and swing with that 3 attack, which doesn't really do much, but it's better than nothing. Like, this is what you play for the 4-wide deck, so it's kind of fine. I guess talking about his alt mode effect, it's just when you flip it to him, move 2 damage from another character onto him. That's also not that relevant. Like, one of these guys will never have that, like, really that low damage on him, except for Skrapnel. I mean, if you can get, like, two moves on a Skrapnel and then, like, reset his force field, basically, it's very nice, but that's not a very realistic scenario. Like, flipping a Ransack that much doesn't really, like, again, flipping any of these guys that much doesn't really happen. But he's alright. I guess the main thing, before we move on to the main deck, I can't really talk about Ransack without also talking about Chop Shop. Chop Shop is the other 6-star Insecticon that you can play in his place. And I see a lot of people play him over Ransack. I personally don't like it. Chop Shop, I think, is a fairly weak card. He doesn't do a lot in the deck. He has 4 attack, 9 health, and 1 defense. So in alt mode, like, barring both of these characters not doing anything, this just has 1 more attack over the other, which I don't find that that prevalent. Especially because for the most part, like the rest of Chop Shop, when you do draw well for Chop Shop, it's not that good, whereas it is really good if you do for Ransack. All he does when he attacks, you can move an upgrade from one of your other characters to him. That's not that relevant. It sounds neat, but it's not that relevant. Grenade Launcher goes away after the attack. One of the other weapons you only want to put on Ransack. The other upgrades like Datapad and Debilitating Crystal will not proc because Chop Shop has already attacked for this when this skill activates. So anything that activates when it attacks, like Datapad, will not go off. There's just not really anything good to put on Chop Shop. And all it will really do is lead into his cheeky alt mode ability, which is simply just when you flip to this mode, scrap all upgrades on him. For each one scrapped, draw a card and repair damage from one of your Insecticons. Again, not that good. We talked about this. Repairing damage from the Insecticons isn't very good. They all have low health pools. It's never really going to matter a ton. And scrapping your upgrades to draw cards isn't even that good. Even if you can get upgrades on him, like it's not doing anything. Like you're just losing them to draw cards. You'd rather just keep your upgrades on all your guys. I just don't think this card is personally very good. I think Ransack, many times Ransack, when you draw the right cards for him, will pull his own weight, whereas Chop Shop, no matter what, really doesn't. So that's why I don't like him in the deck. And there is one other Insecticon that exists. I'll mention it just because I feel like I have to, which is Bombshell. He's got decent stats, but he's simply just an 8-cost vanilla. Nothing to write home about. You can't fit him in a 4-wide deck anywhere because the others are 7s and 6s and 5. Like he can't fit in the 4-wide deck, and he doesn't do anything in general, so he doesn't really get played. If he was a 6-cost, I think you could maybe justify playing him over Ransack, if anything, just for like that defense, because like 4 defense is a lot. He's like a demolisher in alt mode, which is kind of big, but he just doesn't fit in the deck. So like there's not even any point in talking about him. I'm just mentioning him just for mentioning sake. It really makes me upset too because he's like one of the 3 original Insecticons, and like in all the continuities he always had like the mind control stuff. So, like they could have done something so cool with that, with like controlling your opponent's cards or something like that. This card could have and should have been better. I'm upset about it. These 2 are good. Why didn't they name Bombshell good? I pray for a better Bombshell one day. I'll believe. But that's it for the characters. Like, you kind of just have to play this team. I don't think Chop Shop is a good option. I think this is the way to go with it. I've seen people have success with Chop Shop. Like, I'm not saying don't play it, but it's just what I personally prefer. Ransack hits hard and consistently, and you're going to understand once you see the rest of the deck, all the really good plays that Ransack can have with some of the cards. So we're going to start off with the actions, and there's a lot of them. So first of all, we're playing 3 copies of the Insecticon called the Insecticon card Swarm. Swarm says, flip a battle card for each Insecticon that you began the game with. So it's like Kickback, doesn't matter if they die, it's the ones you began the game with, which is really, really, really nice. You get to flip, for every orange you flip, your opponent chooses one of their characters and does 1 damage to it. For every blue you flip, you repair 1 damage from a character. This deck has no blue, so the second part, don't even worry about it. The repairing's bad anyway. But the first part is fantastic because we play an almost entirely orange deck because it goes with the mold of the deck. You want to play oranges to capitalize on the aggro and the bold, but it also capitalizing on Swarm, especially when the double oranges come in. This card I've had this card burn for like 6 or 7 damage before a cross, and yes, your opponent can split it up, but that's perfectly fine. Even if they do end up splitting up, it'll bite them in the butt because then Barrage's bold gets online for every single one of their characters, or anyone that they put the damages on at least. So this card's very good. Sometimes it's bad and you get like a 2 or 3 burn with it, and it just kind of feels bad, but it's whatever. Like, even when it is bad, it's not that bad. And at the end of the day, it's still better than anything else we could be playing. I say that because, again, this deck wants to be almost all orange, so we do kind of play some cards that aren't even that good, simply because of the fact that they have the orange pips that we want. We're not really intending to use them very much, so you're going to kind of see a lot of that in the deck as we go. Next, we're going to go with 3 copies of Incoming Transmission. So this is another really, really nice card with that beautiful orange pip in there. It's just simply draw 2 cards, then put a card from your hand on top of your deck. This card is pretty much considered staple in the general majority of decks in the game. It's just good. It helps you dig for stuff, which is really important. We have a lot of things in this deck that we want to see, like a lot of cards that are really, really important to see, like as soon as possible to get the plays going. So it helps you dig for them. It also helps you stack the deck too, which is kind of nice sometimes. You're hitting orange pips almost all the time anyway, but you can stack your double oranges if you draw them. Like, it's a nice filter for the double orange that you draw. And there's 6 in the deck, so it can be really nice for that purpose. Next, we're playing 3 copies of Supercharge. Just give one of your characters bold 3 until the end of turn. Very, very, very nice. We can go ahead and give Barrage a bold 5 in total, 7 if you have a flamethrower on him. We can give Kickback, he's already flipping 8, so you'll be flipping 11. At that point, you're probably hitting a white, you'll be flipping 13. That's massive. That's like Wheeljack levels of craziness right there. He's gonna go crazy. This card just lets you go a little crazy. This is one of the few cards in the deck that like you play this and I'm like, I'm confirming a kill this turn. I'm confirming a KO this turn. It's gonna happen. That's why I'm playing this card. So it just fills that function. Speaking of function, we have the best action in the deck and arguably the game right here. A triple copy of I Still Function. This card has no pips, but it doesn't even matter. We have to play it. We return one of our KO'd characters that has 12 stars or fewer to the battlefield and repair 1 damage from it. At the end of the turn, we re-KO it. This card is completely insane. With the general flow of this deck, normally you will end up with attack advantage over your opponent. If they KO'd something else, I Still Function will turn that into 3 attacks, and it's just, it's oppressive. It's actually oppressive. You can bring back Skrapnel. Like if Skrapnel, if they finally kill Skrapnel, you can bring him back, flip him, have him KO himself to tap something, then it just says, this card just says tap something, which is like, holy cow. Like, that's so good. It's so good. With Ransack, it's so good because that's one of the best things about drawing the cards to give Ransack damage early on, and then going in hard with him. Then they're forced to kill him because he has all this damage on him. They have to kill him because he's going to keep swinging big if they don't. Then I Still Function and bring him back the next turn for another heavy hit because they come back with 1 damage repaired, so he'll have 7 damage on him, which means he gets to swing for 7 and ride it from the grave. Super, super, super strong. This card is also kind of like, you know, like I find it hard pressed to not fit this into most decks. And this deck obviously has a lot of synergy with it, but it's just a good power card in general, especially when you combo it with the next card we're talking about, 3 copies of Peace Through Tyranny. So this card says you may KO one of your characters that has 6 stars or less. If you do, take an extra turn after this one. Now, when I first saw this card, I was like, take an extra turn in set 1? That's kind of broken. What are you doing, Wizards? But this card is not. After I learned how like attacking works in this game, where like it's 1 attack until you all untap, I realized why this card wasn't actually like that broken by any means. It can definitely set up some like broken times. Because if you go like Peace Through Tyranny something, then get an all-out attack, then the next turn I Still Function it back for like another heavy swing. It can be really, really, really strong. But that is a lot of KOing your own dudes. That is a lot of risk for reward. But it is just a really aggressive card, and it goes in with the nature of the deck. And honestly, even if this card was vanilla, we would simply play it for the fact that it has the double orange icon. We really, really want those, both for the kickback flips, for the bolds, for the swarm flips. We want these oranges. If they make more double oranges in this game, this deck is going to have a field day. Set 2 better pack some more because it will make this deck so much better. And we have a lot of ways, like incoming transmission, or spoiler alert, we play Datapad to like get this out of our hands if it gets cloggy. That's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. It's good enough in the deck between the pips and the effect to warrant being a dead card sometimes. Next, we're going to talk about a card that is almost always really good. You really want to see early. We're going to start getting into the Ransack combos here. Is 1 shall stand, 1 shall fall at 3 copies. This says, take one of your characters and one of your enemy's characters, deal 3 damage to each of them. This is very, very good. Obviously, it's good if like you can put the damage somewhere where it's irrelevant, and this lets you like confirm a kill or something. Obviously, that's really good. A 3 damage packet's very strong. But when you start getting into things like Ransack here, where putting this on him will give him 3 attack, and that's going to get better with other cards. We still have some more stuff to go through. It's really, really good. It's a very, very nice synergy. One of my favorite turn 2 plays is after you swing with Skrapnel turn 1, turn 2 you transform Kickback, slap 1 shall stand, 1 shall fall, deal 3 damage to Ransack, 3 damage to whatever they swung with, maybe swap a weapon on Kickback, and then he just kills. You swing him with whatever already has 3 damage on it, and he's going to kill it. Like, it's a confirmed kill that is also going to give you value later on through a Ransack swing, and it also gives you time to draw that next card too that helps out Ransack. It is so good. This card is amazing. Again, it has no pips, which is a little sad, but it absolutely warrants playing in the deck. There's no justification for not playing in the deck. It deserves its spot regardless of pips. It just helps clear stuff. Another card that helps clear stuff is 3 copies of Ramming Speed. Ramming Speed just simply says, scrap into me upgrade. I don't like getting bodied by Forcefield. This deck really does not like getting bodied by Forcefield. The mantra of this deck is trading your guys really quickly and efficiently, and if a Forcefield keeps you from doing that for a turn, it can kill your entire game. And it will ruin your whole entire pace. So this is just there to get rid of Forcefield, to get rid of any pesky armors in general. Obviously, there's other good upgrades that can kill too, which is nice, but it definitely has this reasoning in here. And I'm not playing Debilitating Crystal, so this is my only way to deal with Forcefield. So I definitely want it to be in the deck at 3 copies, and it's keeping that orange pip, so it's fine. You know, it totally warrants being in here at 3 copies. The next 5 cards we're going to talk about are kind of like how I was saying, we have some throwaway cards that we kind of just play for the orange pips. First of all is 3 copies of Disruption. This card says, look at your opponent's hand and scrap an upgrade from it. So this is actually kind of nice. You can get a lot of pesky stuff out the way before it goes down. You can get grenade. It's one of the only ways in the game to deal with grenade launcher. Simply because of how grenade launcher works, it goes away after the turn anyway, and it gets its value and then disappears. So like, there's nothing you can do to stop it. But if you get it out their hand before they have a chance to play it, it can be really, really nice. Same goes for Forcefield. You can get a Forcefield out of their hand before they even play it. A nice like tempo turn 1 play, like if you go second, is just using this to peek at their hand, see what's going on for the rest of the game, and then also just if they have like a Forcefield in there they couldn't play turn 1, just snipe it. Just snipe it. It's very, very, very handy. It's mostly in here as, again, just like throwaway actions for orange pips, but this card has definitely come up really, really huge sometimes. Getting rid of stuff like start your engines, not start your engines, start your engines. I was thinking of turbo boosters. Start your engines to get rid of cars as untapping sense is really, really nice. Getting the big weapons that Dinobots want to keep around is really, really nice. Keeping your advantage over those decks is what this card helps you do. Next, we have 2 copies of Treasure Hunt. Treasure Hunt says, scrap the top 4 cards of your deck, put all upgrades scrapped this way into your hand. This is actually really, really nice. Like, we have a lot of upgrades that we really want to see, because we're about to get into the upgrades, so you're going to understand in a second, but it helps us find grenade launchers, it helps us find data paths for filtering, it can help us find a lot of really useful things, and I've really been enjoying having it at a couple copies in the deck. It's definitely come up really big a couple times here and there, so I don't mind having it in there. Especially when compared to what else we could be playing in these slots, there's not a lot that I would have here. There's a couple candidates. I've seen a lot of people play in these kind of throwaway slots. I've seen people play Zap, which just says deal 1 damage to an enemy, and it's got that orange pip. I can see when this could be good. Like, I definitely have times where I've come 1 damage short of killing someone, and I'm like, wow, Zap would be broken right now. But I don't think those scenarios are definitely like enough to warrant in the deck. I think these cards can actually offer things to the deck and just good plays in general, rather than just like random Zap. I do like that it can turn on Barrage's Bold onto things that haven't attacked, that haven't been dealt damage yet, which I do like. But again, I don't think that's enough to warrant in the deck. You can play it in these kind of toss away slots, but I don't personally play it. Another card that seems like it would be an auto include in this deck due to the nature of it is Leap into Battle. So Leap into Battle is just give a character +3 attack until the end of the turn. Seems really, really natural for an aggro deck, but the more I played this card, the more I realized it wasn't as good as I thought it was. For one, that blue pip kept coming up when I was either using Swarm or just flipping my bolds, and I really wasn't vibing with it. It was really, really, really harsh in my flow. It was the only blue pip that I hadn't cut from the deck after a lot of testing, but it eventually came out either way because I didn't like seeing it when I didn't want to. And yeah, like I've talked about cards like Ramming Speed or Supercharge or One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall. That's like when you play this, you're playing to confirm a kill. Like, we're putting that on in tandem with Kickback or Barrage, and we're confirming a kill, which is what the deck wants to do. It wants to confirm your kills. But a lot of times I noticed that this +3 attack was kind of an arbitrary number, if you will. Like, I didn't need it most of the time. Most of the time I had enough. Like, the 3 wasn't as relevant as it could have been a lot of the time. Especially when sometimes it was straight up minusing my attack because I was flipping it. So ultimately it came out of the deck. I'm not saying don't play this card. I think it still can be played. But right now I've been testing without it, and it's been going a lot smoother. I really adore this pip balance, so I don't think I might try around with it some more, but it's definitely possible to play the deck without it. So that's all the actions. The deck is a little action heavy. Like I see most people, this will be like the random slot, and these will be some more upgrades of some sort. But I'm playing all the upgrades I like in the deck. I personally find that playing these actions, especially with their orange icons, is more valuable than playing any other upgrades. Getting on to the upgrades though. First of all, for weapons, we have, of course, the almighty, the all-powerful, the all-respected character-ending grenade launcher. +4 attack, and after your character attacks, you scrap it. A -1 for winning the game. A -1 for securing a KO. I'll take that any day. This card is so good. +4 attack is freaking huge. It plays perfectly in the hands of what the deck wants to do anyway, because when you send a guy in to attack, you're expecting him to die afterwards, so it doesn't even matter that this is going away. You would never get more than 2 uses out of any weapon in this deck anyway. So grenade launcher is perfect in here, especially with the orange pip. It is a natural fit in the deck. Next we have 3 copies of Flamethrower. Simply says give a character bold 2 and an orange icon. You can't beat that. Usually translates into like +3, +4 attack. Like it can be really good. It can be, you know, not so good sometimes. Like sometimes it's like, oh, give +2 attack, but you know, it's fine. It's fine. Like on Barrage, Barrage you make it bold 5, bold 8 with supercharge. Kickback, you're flipping 10 cards, 13 with supercharge, 15 because you're hitting a white probably. Like it's crazy. You want to stack the bold in this deck, and the Flamethrower just helps you do it. Our last weapon we're going to talk about is 3 copies of the Static Laser of Ironhide. So this card says +3 attack, so big, but when the upgraded character attacks and it's not Ironhide, you got to deal 2 damage to it. So put 2 and 2 together, we're playing this for our boy Ransack here. Putting the 2 damage on him in tandem with the +3 attack means this is a +5 attack weapon. Comboing that with any like supercharges or bolds, like it's crazy. You put it with a 1 shall stand, 1 shall fall, like it's 8 attack coming out of Ransack. Like that's really the main play. Like 1 shall stand, 1 shall fall, and Static Laser on Ransack for a turn. That's securing a kill. 8 damage +3 burn from the 1 shall stand. It is so freaking good. Then he dies next turn, and then you ideally bring him back with I Still Function for a 7 attack swing. It's insane. Like these are the things I was talking about that make Ransack really good in this deck sometimes. When you don't draw them, it's unfortunate, but when you do draw them, Ransack can hit hard and completely steal the show from your heavy hitters, Kickback and Barrage here, which is much appreciated because it lets them all kind of pull their own work in the deck, which I really, really enjoy. That's the straight weapon lineup. I tested other weapons in this deck. I don't like it. I've seen people have success with Power Sword. I think Power Sword's viable. It just simply says put on melee characters only, and it gives bold 3. These guys are all melee, save for Ransack in bot mode and Barrage in alt mode aren't melee. But for the most part, they're melee when you want them to be. You want to put on Kickback, so you're flipping a bunch of cards. It's definitely nice, but at the end of the day, I didn't feel like I needed more than these 9 weapons. I saw these consistently enough to not want more weapons in general. So it's more of a matter of can this replace them, and bold 3 in a blue is not better than Flamethrower of bold 2 with an orange. It's just not. Another thing that I tested in here was Energon Axe. Simply says you put on damaged characters only. So they have to take damage before you can put this on a character. But it gives Pierce 2 and +3 attack. Seems really good, but this card's actually awful in this deck because of your attack pattern. Like you'll swing with Skrapnel, then he'll take damage, and it's like, okay, cool, I can put this on him, and then I don't know when I'm gonna use it. And then these guys all probably getting one-shotted. Like you never have the chance to use this. It's actually terrible in this deck. So, and it has a blue icon, so it's not helping there either. There's really no other weapons I think you would want to play in this deck. I think these 3 are just the way to go. If you're playing Chop Shop, I guess you would play the Power Swords over the Ironhide Laser. I don't know. The Iodine Laser is kind of good in general, though. Like, even on, like, one of these other, like, on Barrage or Ransack, the 2 damage is kind of not that bad either because they'll probably still get one-shotted regardless. So you just get a 5-attack weapon out of them for 1 turn, so it's kind of just like playing 6 grenade launchers, except one of them is kind of better sometimes. It's a little more limiting on when you can play it, of course, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I would still play it. Actually, yeah, I would actually play this with Chop Shop, because when you play it with Chop Shop, if you swing with him in bot mode, and then use the effect to move it here, he's already attacked, so he won't take the 2 damage, but you'll still get the +3 attack. That's kind of tight. I still wouldn't play Chop Shop, but there's some points for him, you know? Moving on to the rest of the upgrades. The one utility we play is 3 copies of Datapad. Datapad is our one white icon in the deck, the only non-orange barring the blanks. And it says, when the upgraded character attacks, you draw a card. Then, you may put a card from your hand on top of your deck. So this is really, really good. Obviously, we play both double oranges. It's right here. But we play both double oranges in the deck, and we play a lot of orange in general, so being able to sack the double oranges is nice. The deck can also get a little action clogged sometimes because I'm running so many more actions. This just kind of helps you filter them, or worst case scenario, like it's only just a +1. Like so many times I'll go put this on a character, swing with it, draw 1. Okay, I have a single orange icon in my hand, but the rest of my deck is orange, so I'll just keep it in my hand and I'll make it a draw 1. So it's kind of nice in that sense. It's basically just like imagine just like pitch this to draw a card, basically, which is totally fine. Like, it just helps you dig for stuff that you want. It's just a nice plus. If you get to use it more than once, it's really nice, but that's probably not going to happen, but it can happen. It can happen. It's nice. It's a nice filter. It's a nice plus, and it helps you like get what you want in the deck, because again, like I said, like now that we've seen a lot of the cards in the deck, you understand why we need to see certain things when we want to see them. Like, we want to be seeing I Still Function, we want to be seeing One Shall Stand and the Static Laser for Ironhide plays. We really want all of that to be going on, so Datapad is really nice in this deck. You might argue, why not just play Databank instead, which is just at the start of your turn, draw a card. Databank, this makes a lot more sense to the deck. Databank, even to get 1 draw off, has to survive for 1 turn. So you have to put it on basically Skrapnel. Anything else will just die within a turn, and you'll never actually get more than 1 draw out of the Databank. It's even arguable that you'd get the draw on the Skrapnel either. Whereas this is just at least an instant draw 1, and it might be more later on in the game, whereas Datapad is just a lot slower and doesn't actually fit whatsoever with what we want to do with this deck. Datapad isn't here as it's just kind of like a filtering engine to help you see what you want. Nothing more. We're not trying to like stall or grind with hand advantage here. There's a couple other utilities you could consider playing. I think Debilitating Crystal is not bad. It's simply when the upgraded character attacks, return a defending character's upgrade to the owner's hand. So you can bounce Forcefield. That's what we're mainly looking at here, is that you can bounce a Forcefield on your opponent's board. But between these 6 cards here, this getting rid of them before they come into play and this getting rid of them when they do, I found that I had enough ways to work around Forcefield, either getting rid of it or just playing around it. Like a nice thing is, like, if there's a Forcefield on something, you can tap Skrapnel to tap something else and then not have to attack the thing with the Forcefield on it just yet until you have cards to deal with it. So this card I couldn't really keep in the deck. I didn't think it was worth it, especially because I didn't want to put more whites in the deck above Datapad. So it's basically competing for the Datapad spot, and it's not beating Datapad in that slot. And neither is our other utility that you think would be a no-brainer because it's designed for these cards, but it's actually not that great. This is Bug Bomb. Bug Bomb is a utility that says, when the upgraded character that it's on is KO'd, you draw a card, scrap an enemy upgrade, and your opponent chooses a card from their hand and scraps it. So it seems good on paper. You lose 1 card, they lose 2. But it's not that good. For one, it has the blue icon, so already we're not vibing with it. And then as far as like how the deck works, like it does have a little bit of synergy. Like if you put it on something and then you KO it with Skrapnel, if you put it on something then you KO it with Peace Through Tyranny, if you I Still Function something then put it on, then at the end of the turn when it gets re-KO'd, the Bug Bomb will trigger. There's a few ways that it has to go off, and I can see how they made it to design like in a synergy sense with the Insecticons, but the blue icon and just the overall, like, there's not really any point in playing it. Just kind of keep it out of the deck. Like, it's not like you're not trying to devalue your opponent like in any sense. Like you're just trying to kill your opponent, and most of the time, like, that's where your thing is going. Like, sure, we could put a Bug Bomb on a character, spend our upgrade for the turn, putting a Bug Bomb on a character, and then they get to, you know, oh, you lose 2 cards when this guy dies. Or you can just put one of your weapons or your Datapad on and just get value or kill something. Like, there's just no place for this card in the deck. It doesn't work. Moving on to the armors, we have you know, I've mentioned it a few times here, but we simply have one armor in the deck, and it's Improvised Shield at 3 copies. Never put this card in your characters. All it does is give a tough one. You have no blue in this deck. Tough will never do anything for you. Playing this completely for the double orange pip. We're trying to flip it with attacks, and we're trying to flip it with Swarm. We're trying to stack it with Datapad. Nothing more, nothing less. It's never going to use anything outside of that. Between Datapad and incoming transmission, we have nice ways to filter it, so I don't mind it too much. So that's the whole main deck. So the main thing, this goes nice because this is the one other armor you'd consider playing in the deck. You see that we're not playing Forcefield. Oh, but Forcefield is auto-include in every deck, isn't it? Kind of. I think you can play it in this deck, but I don't think you have to. A lot of times I played it with this deck because in theory it seemed really good. Put it on these low health characters, so that way they have to get 2-shotted instead of 1-shotted, which seems really value. But in practice, a lot of the times, it wasn't optimal. For one, it was putting more whites in my deck, which wasn't optimal for the swarm flips, or most of the time for the attack flips either. I didn't like the loss of orange in the deck for it. Not to mention, a lot of times it was just really awkward. Like, I would draw it late game when my guys are either dead or like almost dead because like they either get 1-shotted or like 1 or 2 health shy of getting 1-shotted. Like if you don't draw it before, like if you don't draw it before you attack with something, it's bad. Like, and like sometimes it's like, oh well, you know, turn 2, Kickback's gonna go in. Before he does, I'll throw this force field on him and he'll get an extra turn after this one, which is nice. But then they scrap the force field and you cry. Or you could be putting one of your actual like killer weapons on this guy and, you know, actually securing the kill rather than just trying to prolong your bug's life, especially when that's not even a confirmed thing. Forcefield has many ways to be gotten rid of, as I've detailed in this video, and everyone is playing them because everyone knows how good Forcefield is when it does get value. So it's not a consistent strategy, and I'd rather just get this immediate value out of any weapon or Datapad or any other upgrade that I put on my characters. That's what this deck is all about. You want that immediate value. That's the deck, really. This deck, honestly, it's really strong. It's a lot stronger than I thought it'd be. Like, I've played a lot of, you know, card games, and I like to play the bug decks because that's just kind of one of my things. And normally they're never like necessarily garbage by any means. Sometimes they are. But like they're never top of the food chain either because like it's insects. That's never like, you know, oh, we're gonna make insects the best deck. These doesn't really happen. But this deck is really good. I'm not saying it's the best deck, but it holds its own against basically everything else in the game right now. I think once other decks that are 4-wide come out, it might not be as good because that's one of the natural advantages of this deck is being a 4-character deck. You always have an attack advantage over your opponent unless they're playing a 4-character team as well. But the only other 4-character teams you can put together right now are like ones involving vanillas or not a lot of synergy, like 4 cars but with RC, like a 3-card deck with RC, stuff like that, or like, you know, vanilla trucks or something like that. It's not going to be as optimal as your setup. So the deck has a really good thing going for it in that regard. As far as like matchups wise, like I said, we don't have any like I still think we need more time and more releases before we have much of like a meta, but I have not faced serious issues with anything this deck goes up against. Dinobots, you can tap down Grimlock and you slow their game down so much with Skrapnel, it's really hard for them to keep up. And you can tap down Grimlock when it's really good, and it really hurts them. Anything with like Optimus or Megatron, the rare Optimus and the rare Megatron, Battlefield Legend and Living Weapon as focuses, you can tap them down. 2-deck trucks, you can tap down Nemesis and Optimus, and you kind of just buy them in general because you have 4 to their 2. Like that's just a really hard fight from the get-go. Any 2-bot deck will actually just struggle against this deck. The cars, even when they do all their untapping shenanigans, they're not really outpacing you because you have 4 characters. They're more just evening up the pace. So it's really fine. Like against like defensive decks, you just aggro so hard that there's really nothing that like a defensive deck can do. Like they can get some big defensive, but you're still swinging huge. And like the only really like that the thing right now is this game is very aggressive. Like the average attack is 4, the average defense is 2. This game is built for aggro, at least at the moment, because we don't have any cards that deter from aggro. Like the one card we have that really does is Forcefield, and lo and behold, it's put in almost every deck because it's really all we have, and it can still be gotten rid of. That's why Skrapnel is one of the most powerful cards in the game right now, even outside of Insecticon. People will play him in other decks just for his control aspects because nothing slows the game down like him with his built-in force field. So aggro is just the name of the game at the moment, and this deck really just does it best. It's just all out, all aggro, attack advantage, stuff like that. And then against other aggro decks, your dudes are one-shot by almost anything anyway, so it's not even, you're kind of just wasting their aggro. Like, if they were trying to swing for these huge numbers, it's like, dog, you only got to swing for 10 to kill half my roster. So you get a lot of value there in both senses, and overall, the deck is just very, very good in a lot of regards. I really like the way this deck is built right now. I think I still have some more testing to do before I find the perfect build. Like, Leap into Battle could go back in. I think it's possible. Forcefield could go back in. Another card that could be good in here, I only just thought of it now, but All Out Attack. All Out Attack is not bad in here. I think it could be played over Disruption or Treasure Hunt. Usually just lets you result in like getting like 2 attacks off with your guy, so it's kind of like the mini I Still Function play or the Skrapnel tap down, tapped out play. So it's not bad by any means. I can see it putting in there if you have them, because it's the really expensive San Diego Comic-Con promo. So if you don't have them, obviously, you know, nothing you can do about that. But if you do have them, I think you could just toss them in there. I can see why it's good. Overall, I don't think it's too relevant because you're just trying to get those pips in here, but that could be good. I like the way, otherwise, this deck is built a lot. If you have your own list you want to post in the comments, please feel free to, or message me with them. I'm always interested in seeing other people's lists, other people's tech choices, other people's feedback on my list and stuff like that. Maybe you guys have something I don't. I'm sure someone out there knows something that I don't. I love comments, I love critique, I love criticism. Just let me know, especially if you guys like the video, all that good stuff. Until next time, I will see you guys later.